Okay, so there's more. So the water is one of those examples of synergy, okay? So one of the worst health habits you can have is soda, those sugary drinks, you know, the caffeine and the sugar energy drinks, you know, Monster and all those things. The best thing you can do is to stop drinking those, or at least as a daily habit, and to add water instead. However, if you're trying to lose weight or to improve your body's physique and all that stuff, then lemon juice is awesome, because lemon juice lowers your glycemic load. Glycemic load is the amount of blood sugar that goes into your bloodstream. And the amount of blood sugar drives how much insulin your body produces. And insulin is a fat storage hormone. So if you're not active, then your body's saying, oh, we got all this blood sugar, let's store it. So lemon juice in your water it's tasty, it's refreshing, and it's one of those win-win. Not only are you not spending money on sodas and stuff, you're doing something much healthier, you're putting all that stuff in, and you're reducing all that stuff. I know people who've lost 10 to 15 pounds a year just knocking out soda from the diet. So again, this is one of those things of synergy where health and wealth overlap. Okay? So, and this thing here, this costs like $5 or $10 at Walmart or Target. Even better, you can usually get these things for free. Anybody need a water bottle? I've got 3 of them here that we had extra. Yeah, Coors Credit Union.
Okay, thank you.
So, and the thing about it, studies are now showing that Americans are actually spending more on bottled water than on soda, which is much better health-wise, but financially it doesn't make a lot of sense. You just get a filter, a Brita or whatever they call it, or some other kind of filter, maybe your refrigerator has one, and you just do that. You know, Evian backwards, you know what that spells? Naive, yeah, because people are paying for bottled water, they're paying for water. You know, most of the taste tests, people have done studies on this, the blind taste tests, people actually prefer the tap water, or they prefer the taste of, you know, the drinking fountain in Central Park, you know, you're like, ew, and it's like, no, it tastes better. It's just one of those weird things. So if anybody wants that, it's just, the idea is, as we just try and get the most value out of what you have, and you can save a lot of money just doing those little things. If we have anybody new, I need your email address and your phone number and name, so please add that here. I did send you a bunch of documents this evening. I've been working on the notes, so it'd be a little more legible and stuff for you. It's mainly bullets and some really cool quotes and scriptures in there. 14 pages, or 13 and a half. I don't expect you to have this memorized anytime soon, but I do hope you'll read through it, circle things that jump out at you, things that just resonate or meaningful to you, or that really address some need that you might have. And then keep the rest of it tucked away for another day, right? But we're going to go through a couple of things from that one, and then we're going to do some strategies about, and we're just going to identify some things, and we're going to together develop some strategies to really help our focus stay on areas we want to grow in, areas we want to tackle, okay? So let me first ask, anybody want to share with what they've been reading this past week? We had someone last week talk about love and respect. Another gentleman talked about Total Money Makeover. Anyone want to share with what they're reading?
Sure. So I've been reading about centenarians.
Okay.
And I think the biggest thing I've taken away so far is just that they really focus on the things they can do and how they can still find enjoyment and work their mind and all those things, even with physical limitations, versus, oh, woe is me, I can't do this, I can't do that. So that's encouraging, just to see that they really can still make a great contribution and be just active.
They have a positive life,
Yeah.
just an outlook and everything. Yeah, very true. Bill, was your hand up?
Yeah, I guess one thing I've been reading, 7 Levels of Intimacy. He said one of the best ways to build intimacy is have unscheduled time. No agenda, basically nothing there. That you just get together for a set amount of time, and you just hang out, and you say, hey, what do I want to do? It's not like, oh, we'll spend time together by going to Sears and taking back the pants you bought me that didn't fit and go rake the leaves. It's not agendized.
So no to-do list.
No to-do list.
Free flowing.
What a special set time you're going to do. Just hang out and get to know each other.
Chill. Just going to get our chill on. Yeah, and he said the person we can learn from are kids. Because kids are, that's what they do. They just go out, like teenagers, they just go and they hang out and they get close and they don't do anything.
I have a great example. I just went to a family reunion in Pennsylvania. So it was like 4 days of eating, going by the pool, kind of hanging out. Hey, you want to go to the movie? Yeah, we'll go to the movie. It was just like, hey, it's nice if you can have it.
Absolutely. It's one of the beautiful things about family reunions. You do potluck dinners and you just hang out, share those stories. Okay, so I circled a few things I wanted to cover that I didn't cover last week because there's just so much. Again, it was a fire hose. Next week is going to be a fire hose too when we do the deep dive on health. But again, you'll get a lot more that you can go through later. And again, the real way that you should be learning and looking to learn is by reading those books. Again, 1 book a quarter on health, wealth, relationships, and your spiritual journey. Every year, and you're just going to get so much. You're going to get nuggets here and there. You're going to discard some of it, but you're going to get a lot. And you're going to get a lot more than this. All right, so one of the things I circled on here, wealth is about freedom, not stuff. Wealth is about gives you the ability to direct your energy to the things that you want to do that are most fulfilling for you and your family. This quote here from Frank Lloyd Wright, many wealthy people are little more than janitors of their possessions. You got to shine the silver, you got to polish this, it's just, their stuff owns them. It's not them owning their stuff. They're not enjoying their stuff. It's there to impress people. They have that room that no one can go into because that's for special occasions with company and things like that. They're not enjoying this stuff. And by the way, most Americans now have way too much stuff. We have become janitors of our stuff. And a lot of studies are showing it's adding a lot of stress to our lives. You come in and everything feels so cluttery, and it's hard to keep on top of it. And so then you get stressed and, you have company coming over, you freak out because you got to get everything straightened up. A wealthy person understands that we can have anything that we want. I think, those big things, the trip to Italy I described, or a really good retirement fund, things like that. But you can't have everything you want. Everything are all those little things that will eat up. They'll gobble up all of your paycheck. Every pay raise you get, they'll gobble it up, and you'll wonder how you ever made ends meet before that, What does life look like when you don't have any debts at all? This is on the second page, that second bullet. Now, this is one of those things that just, when you get that vision, when you think about, why do I want to do this? You just think about, what does it look like when I don't have all these bills, when I don't have these credit card payments, when I don't have all these debts? When your whole paycheck is, after Uncle Sam gets his share, it's your family's. And by the way, the IRS, if you put them together, it spells theirs, by the way. So it's just one of those things, beware. How does it feel? Just think about, what does it feel like when you've got 3 to 6 months, at least 3 to 6 months, of all your living expenses in an emergency fund? If the car breaks down, we got this. If someone gets sick, we got this. If someone loses a job, we should be able to float this. If you feel like your career field is one of those where it's less stable or you feel less sure about your future employment, then by all means, increase the length of your emergency fund. 6 months, 8 months. The 3 to 6 months is just what most of those advisors, the experts recommend. I like more myself. More gives you more peace and security. We had some air conditioning problems, great time of year for it. And looking on the different sites, if they had to replace our unit, you're looking at $3,000 to $8,000 or more. knowing that you've got that in an emergency fund that you can use. Of course, then what do? Then you build up your emergency fund again just for the next thing. Because you don't know when the car's going to break down, but it's gonna, So how does it feel when you know that you're fully funding your retirement account? Or that your kids' college savings are on track? How does it feel that you're able to do the big things that you dream about? That next year we're going to Italy, or we're going to Hawaii, or we're doing these things. We're going to self-fund a mission trip. Those are the things that give us that energy for that vision. It gives us the energy to say no to all the temptations that come across all the time. So you get a vision, you write it down, you hang it up, you talk about it, and you pray about it. And I love this quote from Henry Van Dyke. I've already quoted it once over here. It is only by thinking about great and good things that we can come to love them. It is only by loving them that we come to long for them. It is only by longing for them that we are impelled to seek after them. And it is only by seeking after them that they become ours. That's focus. That's focus right there. So, going down the page, a few things I circled there that we didn't cover last week. Before you spend money, you ask yourself, is this something I need, or is it just something I want? And this is especially if you're having trouble thinking about how could I ever get more money for saving or to pay off this debt. It's one of those things where we spend a lot more than we realize. A lot of it's just, it's just a nickel here, a dime there, but we nickel and dime ourselves out of doing these things. So we ask ourselves these questions. And actually there's some other questions underneath that I wrote. Do I really need this? Do I really want this? Will I really use it? How many of us have things in our house that we bought and we never used? Yeah. So you ask yourself, will I ever use this? What? Your exercise equipment? Oh, yeah. Can I really afford this? And by afford, it's not, can I afford the payment? It's, can I afford the entire amount? A lot of people really cheat themselves by only considering a payment, because they end up paying so much. Car dealers are happy to add another year or two onto your agreement so they can lower that payment a little bit. And you're in there for 6 or 7 years. And the vehicle is now worth $2,000 on a $28,000 vehicle, Will I get my money's worth? Which means you actually, is this a quality product? Will I use it? Am I gonna, that's what, I have bought so many clothes at like a yard sale or something, it's missing a button, and the button's down there, you just have to sew it. Those little things that people don't take care of, and they can't be inconvenienced to do it. On the third page, remind yourself that by saying no to yourself in the little things, you get to say yes to yourself in the big things. And this is one way that we love ourselves. And this is one of those things that we can add to our strategies. When we're trying to focus on something, we can add that line in there. Love yourself. Say no to the little things. And you use your own words. And the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realize how seldom they do. When we don't let the Joneses get you down. We compare ourselves. Well, everyone else has a new car. It's like people with teenagers. Everyone else is doing it. Everyone else has this. I'm the only one who doesn't have a phone. I'm the only one, We have the same voice inside of us, Everyone else goes on nice vacations. Everyone else does this. They have a new car, We feel a little something when we see that. It ain't good, But it's not even necessary. Fourth page, living within your means does not mean barely existing. Many of the most fulfilling things, the most memorable things, cost little to nothing. Bill, on your family reunion, you probably spent the most money getting there and getting back.
Getting there and getting back.
The meals, maybe seeing a movie, it was $15 or something like that, but most of it, it's just the people. When Jessica and I were dating, before I was working, we had many a date at Barnes & Noble where I would buy her a latte or something, and then we would talk. Or I would read her some of a book I love, and vice versa. And by the way, when we got married, because she was into the latte a day habit, you know, Starbucks or $5. So on the registry, we asked for a coffee latte maker. That thing, even though it was like $200, whoever got it for it, I mean, if we bought it ourselves, it would have been paid for within like 2 months. And we've been using it for 5 years. Again, that's one of those things where you can minimize your expense and still get what you want. You know, you can save a lot of money because those things add up. You know, there's a lot of things like that. The budget. This is one of the worst. Diet and budget, people just hate those words because they mean no. But what we don't understand is that we're the ones saying no. In the budget, it's basically my plan for how I'm going to spend my money. Uncle Sam gets his share, and then I'm going to do retirement. We're going to do savings for that trip, and we're going to tackle this debt. You know, we get to say we're going to put some money in there for clothes. And by the way, I recommend in your budget that you put some play money in there, blow money or mad money, whatever you want to call it. You can't do total strict disciplinarian willpower all the time. You crack, and then we get into hidden purchases, and you know, we hide things, and that's not helpful to anybody, especially yourself. So give yourself some money, and of course, depending on where you're at, if you're tackling debt, you may not be able to give yourself as much, but give yourself something. Because you need to be able to have a little bit of freedom, I think, to eat out, you know, Qdoba or something once in a while, you know. And then as things get better, you do a little bit more, you know. By the way, if anyone is tackling debt, we haven't had those conversations. If you've got something that you need some help on, we do have a financial services ministry. David Roth, or Roth, I can't ever remember how you say his name, but in the north, he heads that up. Just let me know. I can probably, if someone will remind me, I can email that out. Let me just write that down real quick. Okay, so I'll send that out, and you just contact David, and someone on his team will connect with you. Okay. Before you develop your budget, you have to track your spending. I had a friend in Virginia. We were going through Financial Peace together, and so he tracked his spending. He's like, well, Rob, now I know why I can't do my 401k. My wife and I and our 2 teenage sons, we're spending $800 a month on restaurants every month. It was invisible to him. They just got into this habit, you know? And so he was able to still go out to eat once or twice a week, but able to get several $100s that he could put toward debt or retirement savings, you know? So it's one of those things, it helps us get an idea of how much we do need to spend on things. It also gives us an idea of where we can cut those optional things, which, again, if you're looking for money to tackle debt or to build up savings, that can help. As Dave Ramsey says, tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. You know, when I first read his book in 2003, and he asked that question, how much did you earn in the last 10 years? And what do you have to show for it? I wondered where it all went, you know? And it really motivated me not to wonder 10 years from now where it went. So look through this. Hopefully it all makes sense to you. Hopefully it's not big words, you know, that you've never heard before. Hopefully it's all stuff that's just makes sense. If there's any questions though, just let me know. One of the worst things you do is not ask a question because you're afraid of looking foolish. That has cost me. I've been burned by that one so much. So don't make my mistake on that one. Okay, so one of my favorite things, you know, Julie Andrews, these are a few of my favorite things. Index cards. Can we pass these out, please? Yeah, one for, please. Now, I do recommend you pick up some of your own if you don't have any. Dollar Store has it. By the way, Dollar Store is great if it's a dollar store and they charge you $1. A lot of these places, you go in as Dollar Generals and they don't charge you $1. It's $8. Why does it say $1? You know, but birthday cards, Christmas, I mean, those things get at the Dollar Store. You don't need to spend $5 on a card. Who reads the card? They read the note you read inside. You know, stock up. in a dollar store by my house, they're only 50 cents a card. You know, other things I'm not going to get there. I'm not going to get a pregnancy test or batteries or something at the dollar store. But, you know, consider that one. Thank you, sir. So what I love about index cards is they help you focus. They help me focus. This is one of the things I use. So I mentioned things that we can use. So you write down the things that you're working on. You write down the dreams and goals you're going for. In Financial Peace University, they got the progress chart, you know. So with Dave Ramsey, his thing is your baby steps. The first step is you want to get $1,000 in an emergency fund. That way, if something breaks, you don't have to borrow more money. Second step is you start tackling your debts. And we go through that in this handout. And then the third thing is then you start building up the 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and so on and so on. He has this thing so you can track it. On the other side, he has the classes, but he has your debt paid off, and you write them down there and you cross them off. The debt that you've saved up, or I'm sorry, the money that you've saved up, week by week. You know, these things are great. And you can create your own, whatever you want to do. Something that helps you track your progress that you and your family can talk about once a week. You know, when you do this. On the handout, page 14 or 13, I think, we talk about, no, actually, that's retirement savings. It's talking about the home. You know, and a home mortgage, and I recommend the 15-year mortgage because you build up equity so much faster. So if you do move within 5 years or so, you've built up a good amount of equity. But an amortization schedule. If you print off your amortization schedule, it's easy enough to get, there's free calculators online all over the place. And you just plug in the loan amount, the interest rate, the time period, hopefully 180 payments, not 360. And it shows you how much of your mortgage payment actually goes to principal. If you were the 30-year mortgage, it's like $5 for that first month, and then $6, and then, you know, and then by the time you get to the end, you know, almost all of it's going. But with a 15-year mortgage, you see, you know, more than half of it goes to principal, maybe 60%. So you get immediate. Every time I get a statement from our lender, I go through and I write down where we're at, you know, and then where I think we'll be at the end of the year. So it helps me stay focused on getting the house paid off early. And in the handout, we talk about different ways you can pay off your mortgage early. Most of you have probably heard of the bi-weekly system. I see some heads nodding. There's also a 10% method where you pay 10% over your mortgage payment. Make sure the banks know to apply that to principal, because they won't. They'll be happy to hold on to it for you until your next month. If you get a bonus or an income tax return, you just go ahead and make an extra full mortgage payment. So what you want to do is you want to be doing at least like 13 payments a year versus 12. And then if you're able to do more than one, you're just now knocking off several months at a time. One full mortgage payment might knock off 2 or 3 months of mortgages, of the principal payments and things like that. So there's a lot of ways. This helps me stay focused on that, and I talk about it with the wife. The index card is where you can write down scriptures. You can write down prayers. You can write down things. God, help me to do this. I want to do this. Is, again, showing love to myself and my family. So I wrote down a few things on wealth building that we can brainstorm and come up with a strategy on. And then at the end, about 8, 10 or so, we're going to break up into small groups, and we're going to try and do our own. Okay, and hopefully that'll be helpful. But before I just throw these out, does anyone have anything that they want us to brainstorm one on? Or you can just throw one out yourself. Hello, hello? Okay, so I'm just going to name some. Hi, Lucy. Okay, so... Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, what's the best method? Saving up, having $1,000 is that the best method, or just go ahead and save up the 3 to 6 months of emergency fund?
Well, in the example there, the $1,000 is if you have other debts that you need to tackle.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that's so, but if you have debts, I think that's a good idea because then you have a little bit of a cushion against something happening, but you don't have the big cushion because you really need to be aggressive on getting rid of the debt. Because ultimately, what the debt does is it says, "Oh, you can't do this because you owe us. You need to pay us first." And so they have dibs on your money. You know, if you really think about that scripture where the borrower is slave to the lender, we're working for the credit card company. We're working for American Express. You know, we're working for Sears or whoever. You know, so but if you don't have the debts, I like getting that up there. I like at least 6 months. But that's me personally. You guys decide what works best for your household. Okay, so. So some of the things I wrote down that we can brainstorm on right now is avoiding debt, spending less, because these are things that are challenging to most of us. Becoming a saver, being more grateful and appreciative of what we have for God's glory, and saying no to the little things so we can say yes to the big things. Okay? So let's do the first one. Okay? And let me just throw out some things. Can I get someone to kind of take notes to build this for us? Maybe on a 3x5 card, or what is this, a 5x7?
I'll take notes, bro.
Will you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give you some. It's not your strongest suit.
But I'm going to be all right.
You got this. You are able. Yes. All right. So, avoiding debt. Avoiding debt. So what are some things that we can put in this to help us focus on avoiding debt? Well, personally, I like putting that first. I'm sorry, I had a hand.
Having a plan, so plan the week. I know for us, when we plan what we buy for groceries, then our lunches are planned, and we don't end up walking out the door with no lunch, and then we're buying lunch.
So a menu plan drives a grocery list, which may drive some food preparation, so you don't have this, oh, what are we going to do for dinner? Oh, let's just go get something, which then can change the budget picture. Okay, so getting a plan together.
Saving up for a purchase before making it.
Okay, so Father, help me to learn how, or get in the habit of saving up to pay for things and not borrowing or getting on credit. I think asking yourself again those questions, why do I want this? Do I need this or do I just want it? Yeah, and so maybe putting that into, help me to distinguish between needs and wants or something like that. Again, this is part of loving ourselves. So I like putting this in these things. It's in a lot of my little cards. These are my personal cards. Help me to say no so I can say yes to things that matter the most. Financially, in this case. Health-wise, there's a lot of them, and same with relationships. Anything else that you would put in this? There are scriptures on debts. Father, help me to remember that the borrower is a slave to the lender. Help me to remember that you warned me that debt is a deadly trap that I should flee from. Putting those scriptures, there is something supernatural about a scripture, and when you read it and you process it, it does something to your spirit. I think for me, it's helpful to give myself grace. And so, by the way, this thing is something that I look at mine in the morning and then at night. So I usually only do one at a time because then I'm not focused so much. But it's like 30 days at a time or something. And so something in there, help me to see how I did today help me to forgive myself for where I fell short, but to do better tomorrow, or something like that. You getting these word for word?
Help me to remember scriptures against debt. That was the last.
Okay.
I
Yes?
don't know how to include the scriptures, but I know that sometimes you can be out like shopping or wandering around, and it's easy to pull out your card and just spend it, and it's not really debt because it's coming out of your bank account, but it becomes debt because then you have money for something else. So it's almost like fleeing the situation, like just leave the store or something, what I mean, something like that. You can just tell yourself, I don't really need to be here, Lord, take me to another place.
Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, lead me not into temptation. Jesus taught and actually, what you're getting to is aimlessness. I had a lot of aimlessness this weekend. We were in the airport, and I hate aimlessness when it's that person in front of me. And why are you stopping right in the middle? It's frustrating with other people being aimless, but we don't see it in ourselves. Just like the splinter and the plank. Yeah. So, Father, help me to realize when I'm being aimless with our money. Something like that. Yeah, that's very good. So you see, it's not terribly difficult when we just stop and think about it, but I love inviting God into it as a prayer, because God, He doesn't want us, I don't believe, to be burdened by debt from stuff. Obviously, some debt happens. People get sick. We have medical bills to pay. I don't think God's saying, no, you shouldn't pay those, But to be in debt and living paycheck to paycheck and being stressed and waking up in the middle of the night with anxiety attacks because of credit card statements, for eating out and stuff like that, I don't think that's His will at all. And so I think He wants to help us change. Another thing we can put in there, Matt, is help me to make different choices so I can get different results. You're going to hear these things in pretty much every one of these. But you see how powerful they are, because, they really strike to the heart of human behavior. And everyone I see in here is human. So, with possible exception of a couple, but, so let's look at the next one. And there's going to be some redundancy. Spending less. So spending less, some of it is asking yourself, do I need this or do I just want it? And help me to make those different decisions. But sometimes we're spending less because we just want to be focused on other things. There's not debt. We can afford this, but what we want to do is we want to say no to these optional things. So we have the resources, again, to build up the savings, to fund our retirement, to put some money away for that dream vacation or something like that. My mom, bless her heart, she's 84, and she told me a few months ago that her bucket list trip is to go to Mackinac Island in Michigan, up in toward the UP there. I never knew that. So guess what she got for her birthday? She got some books on Mackinac Island, and we're planning a trip next year. But I need the budget for that. I'm not counting my mom to do that, If it's that important to her, it's got to be important to me, And so I need to spend less on things. Yes, ma'am.
I think another thing in that, especially for couples, is to be on the same page about what, how to spend. Because sometimes what's important to one is not important to the other. Or, like for us, sometimes it was food. I don't care. But food's important, and it has to be a pretty big budget item on the list. And for me, I could just, eat whatever. And so it's just kind of one of those things that sometimes when you say spend less, you have to decide, well, spend less on what, So I think there has to be, communication and the agreement too that has to come beforehand before you can get to what you're going to spend less on.
You are absolutely right, and there is a section in the handout on relationships and how a lot of people, those money fights are about control. It's about hiding money because you're ashamed of something you did. You know, you broke the budget, you know, but you don't want to admit it. And so, you know, but when couples actually talk about money, especially when they talk about the why are we doing this? Again, imagine life with no debts. Imagine retirement being funded. Imagine the college savings being funded. Imagine that trip or whatever the big thing is. It's going to happen. You know, the peace and the hope that can come from that. That's why we do that, and that's what we talk about. And that can help with that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the habits that we have were decades in the making. And they don't flip a switch like that. So it's going to take time. I think those budget meetings, like maybe first month, maybe 2 of them, and then maybe once a month or so, where you're actually talking about it, because you're going to remember things that you didn't think of that now you have to pay for, and okay, we have to change the budget again. And that's okay. It's going to be a few months before it gets into a well-worn groove. But it can help relationships because we're talking about these things and we're working together toward them. You probably haven't gotten this far in your book yet, the 7 levels of intimacy, but when he talks about one of the higher levels, it's you're working together to help each other become a better version of yourselves. And that's, I mean, everything just starts clicking at that point. Your marriage becomes so much, or your relationships become so much stronger because you're working together on that. So, Tony, you had a hand up, and then Sharon had a hand up.
Accountability can help as well. I mean, adding to what Deb said, I mean, after we made a budget together, we had a couple of agreements. One was that we had a joint bank account so that she could see what I was spending and I could see what she was spending, because our agreement was neither one of us would spend more than $100 on something other than like a food or budget item unless we talk first. So
good idea.
We still have that, and so, you know, periodically one of us will go through, hey, what is this? You know, and that's and it's really helpful for us to figure out, you know, and knowing that that's also there's another pair of eyes, you know, helps me go, okay, maybe I need to talk about this first before I spend, so it doesn't have a different kind of talk later.
Well, and that you're absolutely right, and you know that's one of those boundaries that we put in our relationships to protect ourselves when we put it in place when we're in a good place, to protect ourselves from when we're in a bad place. You know, so very good idea, and that accountability is a good one. I like the idea of the threshold. You know, all these things before you make spending purchases is a good idea. You know, a big purchase, you sleep on it. We don't come home and say, honey, guess what? We got a boat. Not a good idea. Do you like my purse? Guess how much money I saved when I bought it because it was on sale. Not a good idea. Okay.
Probably used. That's what Holly does.
Okay.
She didn't raise her hand. Let me raise her hand for
So you buy it used? Garage sale? I'm a big fan. I actually have one of the handouts are thoughts on a yard sale. I wrote that while I was on commuting one morning because it just shows you so much. When people have yard sales, you know what that tells you? That they overaccumulated. They got too much stuff. And they're trying to get rid of it and maybe make a few bucks on it. But they're going to get maybe 1 or 2% of what they spent on it. You know? I mean, that $15 book, they'll take it 50 cents. Sometimes they'll take a quarter. You know, I mean, and again, you may have to sew a button on it. You know, hopefully you wash those clothes. You know, but it's just one of those things that always get a discount. And by the way, when you go to a yard sale and it says $5 on it, see if they'll take 2. You know, unless it's for proceeds go to some mission trip or some charity or something, always ask for half. Let's remember me telling you that. I always ask for half. The Goodwill, some of the books, you can get the books for like $2 or less. Amazon, those things, you can get books, you know, for 99 cents plus $4 shipping and handling. So again, you know, but you know, you always look around, try not to just go and get it, you know. So you've got a list of books to read. I actually had another recommendation tonight. You get a list of books. You don't have to get them brand new right now. Figure out what you're going to read next year and go and start looking for them, you know, in your spare time. The only danger with the yard sales is everything is a good deal, and so you can buy stuff that's not on your grocery list. You still need a list when you go to yard sales, otherwise you'll accumulate stuff. So spending less, what do you have for that one?
Analyzing needs, wants, couples to be on the same page, financial goals, accountability, values, garage sale, Craigslist shopping.
Okay, so you can see how we can turn all of those into little bullets and prayers. Father, help us to get on the same page. Help us to want the same things. Help us to want what you want, Father. Father, help us to be accountable to each other in a godly way. Help us to encourage each other. Help us to work together toward this dream, toward this awesome goal. You know, because it's positive. It's not a budget. It's our plan. We're working our plan. You know, we put a lot of negative words on things. When we talk about relationships, one of the things my wife and I have is a weekly CST, couple spiritual time. Because my wife did not like the word discipling. Because it has some negative connotations. Discipling, though, means loving, means encouraging, right? But it has gotten, it has some connotations to it. So we have CST. And that we talk about the calendar, and we talk about things I'm doing that bug her, and things she's doing that bug me. Or we just encourage each other. And we talk about, us. So, and again, in the spending less, help us to say no so we can say yes. Help us to do this to love ourselves, to love our family, to reach our dreams, all of those things. And again, you put it into a prayer. You ask God to help you. And at the end of it, we ask for mercy. We ask for grace. From ourselves, if it's not a spiritual thing, But I fell short today. Or if I fell short, help me to forgive myself and know that I'm loved. Another great one in there? Your power is at work within me. I can change. We can change. We are becoming the man, the woman, the husband, the wife that we were meant to be. Philippians 2:13 tells us that God's power is at work within us, changing us so that we want what he wants and that we will do what he wants. We will align with God. Those are powerful. It's God's word. Any other ideas for spending less? Coupons, yeah. And that goes back to getting a discount. Yeah, but it's the same thing. Always look to get a discount. Always look to pay less. Now I don't understand mathematically the extreme couponing shows I've seen once in a while. I don't know how they do it, where they get paid to come out with a basket full of toothbrushes, but But yeah, if you can save some money off it, awesome. Yeah. And that actually goes to taking care of what you have as well. A little shoe polish can extend the life of your shoes for years. And laundering and things like that, the proper cleaning, proper care. Was there another hand?
Kind of half there's mine. When you're talking about asking or getting a discount, I asked for a discount literally for everything. I walked into a house and asked for a discount. When I take my car into the shop, I ask them to run it through their car wash. All kinds of stuff. I've gotten some pretty amazing deals just by asking. We had one time we had to change an alternator, and I called around and got a price and found the place that was closest I went to. And said, well, this guy over here will give me $15 less. I'm like, okay, we'll match that price. And just asking.
They cannot say yes unless you ask. I always ask for the military discount. My wife actually showed her military ID when we checked in at the hotel this weekend, and they gave her 20% off. And it was a pleasant surprise. Yes, if it applies, AARP. But anything, I went to Office Max and made these copies. I asked them if they had a coupon. They took $15 off the purchase. Nancy?
I recently learned that there are things that you can negotiate that I would never have thought that you could negotiate on.
Such as?
Well, this instance was we were getting money back for a car that was totaled. So our insurance company was giving us a price. And brother said, you can go on this website and you can scour like the country and get comparable cars. And if you find that a majority of them or the average of them are higher than what they were going to offer you,
Push back.
yeah, you can say to them, well, here is, are all of these cars that are higher priced, for a comparable thing. And he's been able to help friends get more money from insurance companies before for, the amount that they've said they're going to pay him for being total wrong. Like, really? You can negotiate that?
Wish I had done that 5 years ago.
I'm like, I didn't know that.
But you're right, there's a lot of them. A lot of books have... Pushback.com, no.
The website, what was the name of that website?
But if you think of it, just email it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know in Total Money Makeover, or maybe it's up for you, but there's a chapter on negotiating, asking for a discount, paying with cash. Hey, if I buy this, you got to throw that in too, or I'll give you $1,000 for it, versus $1,200 for the furniture, whatever it is. You ask for the discount. Good habit. It'll save you money. So, you want to read some of those back?
Sure, I'll start from the bottom up. Ask for a discount everywhere. Use coupons. God's powers at work in me, we can do it, just being positive. Help me to say no so that I can say yes. Ask God for help. Buy used, garage sale, Craigslist, shop online. Accountability, couples being on the same page and determining needs and wants.
Okay. And so, we'll have to put that in our own words if this is something we're working on, but it's not that hard.
Another one I just thought of, we're having some issues with different folks. They weren't delivering properly, things like that. So I called and complained multiple times. And finally just got to the point where I canceled my subscription on a lawn anymore. So I'm like, well, we'll give you 2 free tickets to a Rockies game if you stick with us for a little while longer and give us a chance to make it better. I'm like, well, you can't do that if you cancel, but if you don't, okay. I'm like, okay. I'll do that. I got the thing in the mail. I still didn't get any better, so I still canceled it. But I got to get to go to the Rockies game for free. So.
And it's just a little bit better when it's free, right?
I'm not doing this, but I know a couple that they use this thing called Mint that tracks their expenses.
Mint.com.
And so they know what their expenses every month is. Eventually it becomes a game where you're trying to beat the prior month, going lower and lower. It's kind of like, the Fitbit. You got to get 10,000 steps, Well, yeah, you got.
Or 18,000.
Or 18,000. So you get addicted to wanting to do better, and the financial way is you're trying to spend less, and that's just how they do it.
I love it. And the commonality between the Fitbit and the Mint.com? Focus. Positive reinforcement, but it's helping you focus.
Yeah.
You have instant feedback. You're aware of how you're doing. And it helps you, that quick feedback helps you to stay on track and to make different choices.
Just adding to that, visibility. Like, I don't use cash very much. Everything I purchase, she sees. So that way, we know what we're spending and not like where did it go. We know because does a little spreadsheet, puts all of the things in a category, so we know what we spend.
So you just hand over receipts, or?
No. It's like the ATM just has all the transactions, and so it's just easy to cut and paste most of this.
So. But it goes back to having that understanding that we're going to talk about this, and then talking about it. Yeah. Communication, and it's helpful, right? It keeps you on the same page. So how about the next one, becoming a saver? What is some, and obviously we can put a lot of the same things in there, but some new things. Were you going to say something? No? Okay. Scott?
Passively saving is if you automatically have things done and you don't have to do anything. It's a good thing for saving.
What do you say?
Make it automatic. The saving.
From your paycheck?
Exactly, through payroll deduction or through bill pay or something like that, where you're automatically moving the money. Because here's okay, so in the notes, I talk about the IRS, theirs, right? The IRS. The IRS figured out a long time ago that if you have to write them a check for what you owe them, they ain't going to get their money. They figure, most Americans don't put money aside every paycheck to pay the IRS April 15th. And so they said, you know what, we're just going to take it from you before you have a chance to spend it on other stuff. And then they get their money, and we're so happy that we actually get maybe something back, meaning we overpaid them. And they had interest-free loan for a year. So we learn from the IRS, and we say, I'm going to take money out for me, for my family, before it comes to me, as Scott is saying, so we can build up the emergency fund, so we can fund retirement, so we can fund college, so we can do these things. And then I'm going to figure out, my budget will be built on the rest of it, But again, you want to pay yourself first. A lot of us have heard that. We don't always know what that means. One of the things I do put in the notes is, if you have someone who's going to college in your household and you don't have the college savings, do not stop or reduce your 401k, your retirement saving. Because you only have a certain number of years to get that up. And then you're going to have to live on that 15 or 30 years maybe. So, sorry, Junior. I put some strategies in there that you can try. But again, part of loving yourself is funding your retirement and not saying, oh, well, I feel bad, so let me do this. It's just compounding the problem, ultimately. Okay, so becoming a saver, some of it's just changing your heart on saving. And again, some of that goes back to, why do we spend? Some of us are natural born savers. Some of us are natural born spenders. And I see grins and knowing smiles being exchanged. I know who you are, I know who I am. And that's fine. In the big relationship challenge is that we tend to attract the financial opposite. And so the spender is attracted to the responsible saver who doesn't have that stress and always has something there, and she or he is going to really help ground me. But then later, what a tightwad, what a jerk, what a control freak, what a rah, 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 rah. And the saver is attracted to that spender because he or she knows how to live. They actually have fun. They're the life of the party, They experience life. They don't just, read about it, And then later on, they're irresponsible, they're, spendthrift, blah, 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 blah. So we have that problem. Again, this is why we need those communication, that get on that same page, and talk about the why, talk about what does it look like later. But again, becoming a saver is, I think a lot of it is focusing on why are we saving. I think that can help even the natural born spenders tone that down a bit when we think, why are we going to do this? Well, we're going to have peace of mind. We're not going to have these money fights. We're going to be able to do those big things. And I think focusing on the why is really important, especially for changing one of those natural tendencies that you have. So, what else for becoming a saver? Debbie?
The same thing is that if you have like older couples, people that have experienced things and gone through things, it can kind of guide you as to what you really need to save for. Because you can speculate that I don't expect it for a house or what do you do for this. I think that sometimes, if somebody's already there said, I wish I had saved more for this time, or I wish I had put a little bit more aside because then we could have done these vacations and would have helped our relationship. Or, I think we need those relationships too that can, like we do for children, for raising our kids, that we need that too for someone that can help us to say, this is kind of the things that you look for. You look for family, you look for your own self, you look for retirement, you look for, sometimes you can only see this far. I want to buy this house. And so your whole focus is to save for this, but you're not thinking maybe there's other little pots you can put things in that, also can start to grow.
Good point. Good point. Anyone else? Pots and little pots. Yeah, multiple goals. All worthy,
idea of, coming to an agreement that you're going to save for something. Like you said, the why is really important. Like when we had our 20th anniversary, we decided that we wanted to go on a Mediterranean cruise. And
Nice.
We saved for like 4 years, to be able to afford it. So, but I like the idea of jars even, because you can see it, visibly that you're kind of saving. I mean, not for a trip like that.
It's a big jar.
Yeah. But it's a visual reminder.
Nice. And again, you can use something else visual, like a sheet of paper where you're writing down, like a bar, the temperature thing or whatever you want, thermometer, or you color code it, But yeah, something to help you stay focused on it. And again, you're working together towards something, which actually will strengthen your relationship, and you'll get a lot closer than you would have, and you may even get it, hopefully.
I think saving, just like spending, can become addictive. You can look at it, you also have to kind of watch out for that, because you can take your security from there rather than God. But you can, it creates a positive, mind if you build a little bit and a little bit. For a lot of our lives, I would, if we had a little bit more money at the end of the month than we had month, it was like, woohoo, we're doing great. Let me reward myself by spending money, right? So it was a self-defeating thing until we finally got serious and got help and went through financial peace and got the savings, and now we've got more savings than ever, and it's like, it's addicting, but you got to remind yourself of the positive feeling that comes along with it.
An object in motion will tend to stay in motion. Object at rest will tend to stay at rest. Person who saves will tend to save, right? No, you're absolutely right. Addictive, if you find it addictive, then we do have in motion. and that might be something to consider. Or again, if there's big debt, think of the financial services ministry. But yeah, I think it is just one of those things that you're the one who mentioned Mint. Like, and then it becomes like a game, and see if we can do it. Yeah, so it becomes fun,
right.
And having it is fun. But what you don't want to be is the guy who passes away and had $20 million and never spent it on anything. It all went to some university or something. What? His cats, yeah, something like that. You want this to be for your needs and for the needs of others. Ultimately, this is our big vector check. Am I going in the right direction? Yes. Am I going in the right direction for the right reason to glorify God? That's something that we always have to have that vector check, Because you're right, we can get security from the wrong things. Okay. And again, some of the things that we use in this one, we use in the others. Again, about loving ourselves and saying no so we can say yes. Because, again, we have a lot more wants than we can afford. Again, we can have anything we want, but we can't get everything we want because there's just too much and we don't have enough time. And so we do have to say no, whether we're spending less, whether we're saving more. How about being more grateful and appreciative of what we have? What are some things that we can do for that? So, God, help me to be more grateful and appreciative. Help me to recognize that you are the source of all that I have. That you give me the ability to become wealthy. Those are all based on scriptures. And you can put a scripture in there about gratitude. You also started to say something there, Mateo.
Is this a new card?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So those are three things easily. Now.
One thing that my husband does that he started was writing down 3 things that he's grateful for every day and then one positive memory of that day. And it's kind of, if I can speak for you, has helped him be able to be more appreciative and grateful for the experiences and things that he has.
Great. As Regis Philbin would say, I love it! Love it! Because keep in mind, we are barraged, bombarded daily, all day long with negativity. You deserve more. You don't have enough. Everyone else is winning. You're losing. You know? And then the news is all bad. There was a shooting downtown. There was a terrorist attack in Istanbul. I mean, it's just all negativity. You know? We live in enemy-occupied territory, and we have to claw back for joy. We have to fight back for joy and realize our God created this world. There is goodness, there is beauty all around us, in us even. And we have to stop and think about that. So, I like it. Love it! Be more grateful and appreciative of all I have. Part of being appreciative is taking care of what you have. Help me to learn how to care for what I have, which includes our health, our relationships, but in this case, stuff, you know. Part of that is, if you're not using stuff, you find it a new home where it will be cared for and loved and appreciated more. You know, your lime green leisure suit from the 70s might do better in a costume shop than in your closet. So let's find you a new home. Sir?
So taking care of even our own attitude, something I kind of developed at work because I had to, was, okay, I start the day with a cup of happy, and I'm just very careful not to spill it during the day. And sometimes I'll have to go to my partner and say, oh man, can I borrow a little of your happy? You know, it just becomes a little game thing, so we just have fun with it.
Yeah, and it allows you to kind of laugh at yourself and how we react to stuff, you know. All these books, don't sweat the small stuff, and by the way, everything's the small stuff pretty much, you know. It's exactly, you're fighting back, you know. It's really rebellious, you know, in this world that we live in. You know, it's countercultural to fight back and to find reasons for joy and find reasons for happy, cup of happy, things like that. Yes, ma'am.
I think that we need to remember that everything we get, everything we have belongs to God.
And it's for Him.
Yes, it's for Him. And we take care of it. And so everything that helps us also. Be more grateful.
I agree. And that goes back, remember He is the source. You know, there are three things that I just really enjoy doing that my spirit just sings when I'm doing them. Well, actually four. Volunteering, playing racquetball, or at least hitting the racquetball on the court, skiing, downhill skiing, and kayaking. But not the whitewater rapid kayaking where you got a skirt on and you're barrel rolling. No, just the slow, pokey, lake, recreational kayaking. You know, those things, they just fill me up. But I realize I go long periods of time without doing those things. And part of my spirit is just kind of shriveling or thirsty or hungry or something like that. So I would encourage you to think about those things that you just love doing. You know, it could be just listening to music, like certain kinds of music, maybe your neighbors like or don't like, you know, but find those things that you really enjoy and make sure you're carving out some time to do those. Because those are things that will help you claw back as well. So being more grateful, again, I think the other side of that is, you know, recognizing God as a source, putting scriptures in about gratitude, but then also just thinking about how can I take better care of what you've given me? What is in my care, what I have? And again, you won't need to spend money on new stuff if you're taking good care of what you have. And by the way, that goes for not keeping up with the latest trends. You know, people who buy new clothes based on the trends are always going to be poor. You know, Ben Franklin wrote about that. You know, go for your look. Be comfortable with your style. Your style is timeless. Your style is comfortable. Cute shoes hurt. Right? So you don't want to chase that in general. I learned that from my niece. Sorry. Your hand was up, ma'am?
Yeah, I was thinking that, the best way for me to be grateful is when I go and volunteer in homeless shelters, other places that even not even people who are poor, but people who just like an assisted living home or something that just don't have, you know, relationships, you know, they have no family, or they have no food. Or,
Or mobility. Or,
so any of that, you know, always puts everything back in perspective. You know, what I've got versus what other people may or may not have. So I think that is always helpful to go and do, to kind of wake you up every time.
wise words. Wise words. Yeah, it is really the ultimate attitude adjustment, because it shows you, man, you have so much. Why are you complaining? You know, I can be such a whiny little baby, and I have so much. You know, my wife and I, we volunteered at the Denver Children's Home, and these kids, 12 to 18, they've been through more stuff in their few years than most of us will in our entire lives. And they're still polite, and they're still kids. You know, and it brings joy to your heart, but it convicts you so deeply that, shut up, you big baby. You know, you have a lot. So yeah, well said. Okay, so let's go a few more minutes, then we're going to break up into some small groups, and we're going to talk about this more. Next week, we're going to do a deep dive on health, and it's going to be a fire hose, because we're covering exercise, we're covering nutrition, we're covering macronutrients, we're covering not supplements or testosterone or anything like that, but we're covering a lot of stuff, and healthy habits, and strength training, and things like that. And then the week after, we're going to be talking about the strategies for health, getting healthier, becoming healthier. And then the last 2 weeks will be on relationships and synergies. So the last one I have here is for God's glory. So obviously there's plenty of scriptures that tell us that we are here for God's glory. Our wealth is here for God's glory. So what we spend our money on is for His glory. We can put on there, Matt, that God asks for 10% back, but He's still interested in what we do with the 90% He lets us keep. He wants us to be wise stewards of it. He doesn't want it. He wants it to be a blessing and not a curse. And unfortunately, those that live paycheck to paycheck, or who spend more than they earn, it becomes a curse. By the way, simple formula, I think you guys have already seen this one. If you spend more money than you earn, your net worth will go down. Whether your last name is Trump or your last name is Swanson. Your net worth will go down if you spend more than you earn. But if you spend less than you earn, your net worth will go up, whether your last name is Trump or Swanson. Okay, so anything else for God's glory that we can put in there? Well, remember, He is the source of it all. He's the source of all beauty, all goodness, all love, all truth.
I think it's the God's word.
Okay?
I don't mean the money, I mean the
The principles. Wisdom in money, right?
Yeah.
Wisdom. Yes.
Because that's what financial peace was founded.
Dave Ramsey.
That's what he did for his kids. You know, they needed to be clear, or his daughter at least, to impress upon them to make, you know, to be able to make wise choices. So I think that's to God's glory that what He's has given us and entrusted to us, that we teach our children and entrust to them.
Yeah, he calls it changing your family tree. Yeah, I like that too. And there is a little section in the handout on the children too, and teaching them the good, the bad, the ugly of what you've been through. You know, and obviously, as they get older, you can share more. You know, but yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to love them enough to teach them this. And same thing with health. Same thing with relationships. Almost everyone out there has some dysfunction in their family background. And they're walking around scarred and ready to hurt someone you love if they don't know how to love themselves and protect themselves. For your glory. So we honor God by being able to take care of our family financially. We honor God by being able to meet the needs of those around us, whether it's through volunteer work with our time, or whether it's by keeping the lights on for our neighbor, or helping getting their car fixed or something like that. Those are all ways that we honor God. And many more. And there are scriptures that would be great to put in there. So now we're going to break up into small groups for about 10 minutes. And you guys talk about, with your wealth building, what aspect you would like to focus on, and ask the group to help you. And just come up with 4 or 5 things. It can be things we've already used. Help me to say no to the little things so I can say yes to big things. Help me to love myself. God, help me do this.